Hey, how's it going everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back to episode 5 of the 4.7 stroker build series that we have going on this channel. I'm having a blast with it so far, I gotta be honest. Just being able to do videos about a build series it's sparked something in me. I've been very motivated about it. I'm looking forward to getting this thing torn down and doing lots of different things with you guys with this series. So that being said, we're gonna get ready to dive on into it, but before I do, if you have questions about any of the specialty tools that you might see or find during the build series, I've put links down in the description for you guys so you can go right to them. Also, if you want some other helpful information, I'm planning on typing in other helpful information that's also down in the description. So if you're looking for more information as far as casting numbers, tolerances, things like that, I'm gonna try to start putting that stuff down in the description for you guys as well. And that is applicable to both the 4-liter as well as the 4.7 stroker. So that being said, let's just start diving right into it and start getting some of these accessories taken off, get the oil pan off so we can get the pistons out. Let's do it. All right, so one of the first things that I want to take off is gonna be this stud that happens to be holding the dipstick, the oil dipstick tube, to the side of the block. Now you would want to use an E-Torx. Again, always try to use the right tool for the job if you can. But I don't have an E-Torx here at the house, so my plan was to find something that was kind of close. And what I found was a 6-point hex 5mm. Now before I go ahead and attempt this, I'm going to hit this with a little bit of lube as well. I think I can, therefore I'm going to attempt to. So let me just get this snugged on there pretty good. Boom. And I am able to get that out with a 5mm 6-point hex. So that works just fine. Again, you want to use the right tool for the right job. We didn't have it, so we're trying other things. Alright, so now that that's off, we can set that to the side and we can pull our oil dipstick tube out. And just kind of work it back and forth while maintaining upward pressure, and it should just pull right on out. Like so. Alright, let me go put this in our fishing tackle box and we'll move on to the next thing. Alright, the next item I'm going to take off is the oil filter adapter. Or housing adapter, and what we have here is a 16mm bolt that goes all the way through that holds it to the side of the block. Not every 4-liter is going to have that, so some of them are going to be an Allen, and that is going to be an oversized metric Allen. You're just going to have to try to find the one that works and fits. But for us, just so happens to be a bolt and it's already loose. So these things are notorious for leaking. Anyone can tell you that. We're going to go ahead and take that off. You can see I didn't even need to hit it or anything. It just started coming off. This thing was not very tight at all. Looks like they tried to silicone it too. So we're going to run that out. You'll see there, yeah, it's been blown out. They tried to RTV it, it didn't work. So we're just going to set that down on the ground. And next we're going to try to remove this oil pressure sensor here, and then we'll be taking the plug out that also holds it, just kind of keeping in mind the orientation of it for when we go back together. So let me go find a wrench for that. Okay, for the oil pressure sender, it's going to be 1 1/16". I don't happen to have a wrench that size or the specialty socket to remove it, so I'm just going to use a crescent wrench just to apply a small amount of pressure to get it kind of cracked loose. So let me find a good bite in here. And then I should just be able to turn that out by hand at this point. And we'll set that down here on our cardboard with the rest of our parts. And then the same goes for the actual adapter that goes in it. So now I'm going to kind of brace the engine a little bit. I don't know how hard that's going to be in there, but it seems like it's in there pretty good. Ah! There we go. Just take that out. Put that down there with our parts. All right, cool. So now we've got everything off the side of the block. There's nothing on the other side of the block. Now we can take off the water pump. All right, and the water pump should just be held on by some 13mm bolts. I'm just gonna give it a little time. We'll take those out. Should be fuller. And should just be able to let me find a hammer real quick. I didn't figure it was going to take that much effort. That's why I tried to very lightly tap it with the gun. But at any rate, now that our water pump is off and out of the way, we'll put our water pump bolts in our fishing tray. We'll roll the engine over, and we'll start taking the oil pan off. Alright, we'll do the freeze plugs later. But we're going to rotate the engine now so we can get to the oil pan. So we'll do the freeze plugs later. I just saw that as we were coming over here. So I'm just going to slowly let it rotate its way down. Probably going to dump oil, and it is. It's dumping oil like a sieve. Try to rotate it back. I should have thought about that. It's a good thing we have a piece of cardboard under there. Let me move the parts out of the way and then we'll do this again. Alright, play it again, Sam. So at any rate, something else I forgot to mention, or at least show you guys, is that since we're getting ready to flip it over anyways, we might as well prepare ourselves for knocking the pistons out. What I mean by that is, you can see I have the majority of almost all the head bolts kind of started to thread back in. And I've just got some, baling twine here wrapped in between them to try to catch the piston as we push it through the bore. So you're going to want to do that if you're planning on punching the pistons out. You are going to have some spillage, even if the engine's completely drained like this one too. I did go grab a catch pan. I don't know why it's not going to catch half of it, but I did throw down some paper underneath the engine stand as well. So now we can go ahead and rotate it over. We're going to have a bit of a mess to clean afterwards. It is what it is. That's all in the fun of engine building. So let me set our Jesus pin off to the side, and we'll begin to rotate this engine back over again. Whoa! Lost control. Alright. Once we're completely vertical, we can put our Jesus pin back in the slot to hold everything in place, and then we'll start removing the oil pan bolts. I'm pretty sure these are 11 millimeters, and there's going to be a couple of 13s, 2 in the back, 2 towards the front. So let me get an extension and get set up, and we'll get this oil pan off. Alright, so we got our 13 millimeter, we got our 11 millimeter, and our extension, and our handy dandy magnetic tray. I'm just going to go through and start taking them out. Well, that nut's already stuck in there. Hang on. We're going to have to push that through with something, so hang on. Yeah, that stuff's going to kind of happen. At any rate, there we go. And like I said, sometimes the bracket comes with it. That's plenty fine. We'll figure all that out later. I'm not going to bore you with every single bolt and nut. You kind of get the gist of it so far. So let me get all this off and move to the next step. Alright, with all bolts and fasteners removed from the oil pan, we can now go around and gently lift off our oil pan. I don't really want the gasket so much as I do the pan itself. Watch out for the pickup. We'll just flip that around like so, and we'll set this off to the side for now. Find a little spot over here in our parts section. Alright, so now we have our oil pickup tube, our oil pump itself, we got the connecting rods, we got our journal caps, our main caps, and then we got this disgusting and useless gasket that we can take off at this point. Let's just lay that down here, shall we? Yeah. Let me get a rag to wipe my hands off for a second. Alright, so it looks like what we're dealing with here as far as the oil pump and pickup tube bolt are concerned. They're also going to be 13 millimeters. We got one here, and we got just one right here. So let me zoom in for you guys so you can see that. Let me lower this down. So I'll go ahead and remove those now, like so, like so, and then just to make things a little more speedier, take it off the rest of the way with the gun. Now we'll put these in our little fishing tray over there, and we'll take the pump off, and we'll be right back. Alright, hopefully you guys got a pretty good shot here of what's going on, but now we can go ahead and slide our cam out. So just going to start in the back, kind of pick it up, slowly kind of work it forward. So there we go. And now we got our cam out. So I'll just set that down here on top of our cardboard. And now the camshaft is out, so the next thing that we have to do is we'll have to mark the rods so that way there's no mix up, and I'll show you how to organize those as well. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, but for right now, give me a second to get set up, and we'll start marking everything and getting it ready. Alright, now we're going to get ready to prepare to mark the rods from front to rear, and we got our crank bolt placed back in the crank to help us move the crank into position. So I'm just going to rotate the engine until we're pretty much at the bottom of the stroke, and now I've got a nice clean flat platform here on the rods. Now if this has been rebuilt, chances are they've already done this. If it hasn't, which I'm starting to think that this block hasn't been, because even in the book they show a picture of a 50 thousandths piston, so I don't know. Don't know if this has been worked on or not, but at any rate, we're going to go ahead and mark it. So somebody a while back, I can't remember who, and I apologize for that, gave me this really nice and very sweet engine stamp kit, which is awesome. So I'm just going to take the number 1 out, get it into position here. I'm going to flip it over, and just with a hammer, I'm just going to strike down one time and mean it to stamp the rod. And that's all it takes, and it's now marked number 1. So now we're going to do the same exact thing throughout the rest. I'll do one more with you guys and then I'll go through and mark the rest on my own so as not to bore you. So we're going to rotate the cam again until we're at the bottom of the stroke, and number 2 is now at the top. Just give it a quick little wipe. Make sure our number 2 is set up. Put it right in the middle. Now we've marked that, number 2. We're going to do the same thing for every single rod cap all the way back to the very end, and then we'll start taking them up. Alright, with everything stamped, we're now ready to start taking the rod caps off and pushing the piston through the bore. So, it's just a 13, just going to crack them loose. And we'll just run them out. Set these over here to the side for now. And with a hammer, I'm just going to very gently kind of tap to separate. Cap. This gives us an opportunity now to look at the rod bearings, and to be honest, they really don't look all that bad. So, but we're going to be replacing them. But what you're looking for in here, let me just take my finger and swipe it real quick, is you're looking for any kind of marring, scarring, any kind of pitting, scoring, things like that. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so now I'm just going to set the cap over here off to the side again. And now, with a lady slipper, you can do this with a broom handle as well if you can get down in there, or some kind of brass drift punch. I don't have either one of those. What I do have is this lady slipper. I'm just going to kind of tap it on through. And we're actually pretty close to almost out at this point, so I'm going to lower the camera so you can see it from a lower angle. Alright, so let me get the lady slipper and hammer again. The piston is now free, and it has been caught by our twine. We did accidentally bump off the rod cap, but that's okay. So now this one's been done. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing throughout the rest of the block. I'm not going to bore you guys. Once you've seen it done once, you kind of get the idea and gist of it. So I'm just going to go through and take the rest out the same exact way. Here, I just thought this would be interesting real quick, but here's the same exact thing. This is cylinder number 1, and you can see where it's no longer that shiny aluminum look. You can see actually the bronze or the brass kind of coming through on the top, It wasn't like that for the bottom portion of the bearing, but for the top it was. So these are actually indeed worn. Just thought I'd share that with you for in case you want to know what to look for. There. And if you're super nice to the guy at the market who you buy soda, cigarettes, and beer from, he'll give you one of these super awesome 2-liter or 1-liter trays that fit pistons perfectly all the way up to a V8. So we still got 2 more spots. Awesome, huh? Great way of organizing pistons. Alright, now for our main caps, they're going to be 13/16. I'm just going to see if I can get this portion done using just the ratchet. We might have to get our cheater bar back out, but let's just see. I don't remember how tight these are supposed to be. Oh yeah, those are freaking tight. So we're most definitely going to have to get a cheater bar on these, aren't we? Oh! Yeah, well, it can be done by hand. If you want to strain a little bit. Stupid fucking light. Starting to move the engine around. 2 more. Oh fuck. We lost one of our bolts. Okay. Whew. That'll make you sweat. Whew. Alright, those are all done. And I've dropped our flashlight. Find that again. There. 13/16. Bit of a workout. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get all the caps off. We're going to remove the crank, and we'll put all our caps back into the block. Sweet! Give that a quick wipe. Let's see here. Might have to give it a couple of little love taps. We can pinch these bolts together to kind of hold the cap in our hand. Something like that. Now it gives us a chance to inspect our main bearings for the same thing. Now it's going to be kind of hard to see, but there is actually some pitting on this main bearing. So I'm just going to lay them on the ground back here in nice neat order. Again, I'm going to pinch the 2 bolts together, give it a little tap, and like so. Start setting them front to back on the ground. Here's one of our thrust bearings right here. I think there's 2 of those. See, I don't think it's supposed to have that kind of wear. I could be mistaken. But at any rate, keep it going, keep it going. Kind of pinch, tap. pinch, tap. And then one more. This is the one with the rear main seal now. So we could take a look at this. Here's the, it's a 2-piece rear main seal. You can see, again, some pitting, a little bit of bronze showing through. So they were probably due for a change. And now we'll lift our crank out and get it out of the way. Okay, now when you store this crank, I'll show you, you're going to want to find a place where you can store it straight up and down. You don't want to lay it down on its side, because these things, especially if it sits for a while, can form a memory. So you just set it up like something like that, straight up and down, somewhere in the corner of the shop, so that way it's just not laying flat on anything. All right, cool. All right, now we can begin by removing our bearings and the other rear main seal half from the back before we take it down to the machine shop. But at any rate, we're not going to take it down there yet because we still have some measuring to do and checking everything else. Now I got a little flat head. This isn't a chisel. It's not meant to be, but it will kind of help to slide the old bearings kind of out, especially if you're gentle. Just kind of gently, trying to move around everything here. Just kind of gently go through it. Give them some love taps till they slide right out. See, I'm not hitting them very hard. Okay, just like that. And then using a pick or something, try to get in here towards the back to remove that the second half of the rear main seal. Oh yeah, that's in there good. It's been in there for a while. So now at this point we might use our flathead to help kind of bump things along. Don't know if you guys can see that or not. We're going to try to help bump things along because this does have a metal insert in the seal. So I'm just going to kind of line it up on the seal. She's stubborn. Try the other way. There she goes. A little deeper. Let's see. There it goes. Like I said, these things can be stubborn, especially when they're old. But now with the second half of the rear main seal out, we're pretty much good to go. I'm going to go through the caps, and in order as I'm taking the bearing off, I'm just going to put them all back in. Now the other end of this gasket can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. And you can see what I've done here is I've flipped the cap upside down. I'm getting a small little punch, and it's my goal to pretty much get it out this way. If you don't have a bench vise or anything. Like I said, these things can be quite a pain in the butt, man, to be honest. Let's see. Yeah, it figures it's just brittle. Brittle, brittle, brittle. Come on, baby. And there you go. Now I've got the other half out. I'll have to spend a little time kind of picking and grooving at the leftover pieces that are in the other half. Right, let's take a small flathead and kind of gently kind of tap it on out like so. So that's just in a pinch. If you don't have a vise or anything like that, you just, flip the cap upside down, hand tighten rear main cap bolts back in it and tap it out that way with a small punch. Okay, last little tip for this segment. If you'll see where I'm shining this flashlight, you're gonna see an engine casting number. And if you were to look that up, that'll tell you what year that this came out of. For this particular block, it came out of a 91 to 95. And for everybody else, down in the description, I'll put the casting numbers for all the previous and post years to this block down there for you. Alright guys, well that'll pretty much wrap it up for today. Look, we got a lot done. We made a lot of progress on this engine already. Still have some things ahead of us. We have to punch out the freeze plugs from the block. We want to take measurements of not just the piston, but the inner diameter of the cylinder bore itself. We're going to need to look up some more information as far as kits are concerned and how much that's going to cost us. And there's a lot of things that we can still yet do here at the house, not just in regards to the block itself, but to the cylinder head. So make sure you stay tuned for the next episodes, as I'm going to show you some more things that you can do to not just the head, but to the block as well before sending it to the machine shop. That's all I got for this video, guys. Thanks as always for watching. Remember, if you liked the video, to give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Post your comments down below. Again, revert your attention down to the description, as there will be links to the tools that we've utilized in the series so far. The casting information I'll put down in there, as well as a few little tidbits that I'll type in myself. That's all I got for this video, guys. We'll see you next time. Deuces.